Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JB Hoops, and today I've got my pre-March Madness or pre-tournament Bigboard 2.0. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down my top 40 prospects into 5 tiers. The placings within each tier are pretty fluid, as some guys have a very wide range for me, so it's just how I'm feeling right now. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and let's start it off with some honorable mentions. So I'll roughly order my 41 through 60th ranked guys, plus add in some other honorable mentions. These are guys who just missed out on my top 40 or I haven't watched enough yet to feel strongly about. So these prospects are definitely worth monitoring, and some like Joan Berenger, Hugo Gonzalez and Ryan Kalkbrenner could still go very high. But anyway, let's just get right into it. Starting off with tier 5 with my prospects ranked 40 through 31. Starting us off at 40, I have Tomislav Ivicic out of Illinois. Ivicic is skilled, shoots it, defends, is a good passer and has awesome size. He had mono during the season, so his impact dropped off a bit, but he's been super important for Illinois and should be a good bet in the second round as a backup 5. Next up at 39, I have Ben Sarif, the 6'5 guard playing for Ulm. Sarif is an intriguing creator bet as a guard who is carrying a high usage in a pro league. He makes some impressive passes and has had some big games, but with the lack of shooting and elite driving, I'm not convinced he'll be handed the usage he needs to be effective. So I've dropped Sarif quite a bit and he currently sits at 39. Just ahead of him at 38, I have the 6'4 freshman out of UNC, Ian Jackson. Ian is a guy I would love to see transfer and build his game. The defense and decision making can be very rough, and overall he's got a lot of room to grow, but his talent as an athletic 3-level scorer is undeniable, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got a promise in the first round, but for now he comes in at 38. Now at 37, I have the 6'9 senior out of UAB, Yaxel Lenderborg. Lenderborg is a strong-bodied, athletic and versatile big who does absolutely everything. He's an impressive passer, can hit open shots, and is a super polished interior scorer. He hasn't played against a ton of comp, but he impacts the game on both ends, and has an NBA-ready game as a 4 or small ball 5, so I have Yaxel Lenderborg at 37. At 36, I have Marquette's Cam Jones. Jones has been great this season despite really struggling to shoot it, and he's clearly a better shooter than the 31% suggests. Cam is a high-level passer and decision maker. He's super crafty and skilled, plays hard, and really knows how to win. He is already 23 and limited athletically, but he could make a playoff team very happy come June. Ahead of him at 35, I have Danny Wolf. The 7-foot Michigan junior is a fun and unique prospect as a big who can handle and create, and he's also been a very impactful defender at the college level. His game does feel a bit gimmicky, the turnovers are a real issue and I'm not confident in a lot of his game translating to the next level, but he's very talented and definitely worth a swing on, and I can understand why some people are very high on him. But for now, Wolf lands at 35. Yegor Demon comes in at 34. Obviously he got off to a hot start and people had him very high, but as the comp scaled up, his impact and efficiency fell off a cliff. I'd really love it if he returned for a second year to hoop alongside AJ. The passing is impressive, but he just isn't able to beat defenders and create quality looks to leverage it given his poor handle, rigidity and lack of explosiveness. And the shooting also just isn't there at the moment, so I have Yegor Demon at 34. Next up, I have Liam McNeely out of UConn. McNeely can really shoot it and is an effective connector with good size. He's had some incredible performances but also struggled for large parts of the year, and the 2-point scoring has been rough. The ankle injury probably hurt his stats and impact quite a bit, but UConn has been much better with him out there, and although he struggled, I still can see him returning value as a late first type of pick, but for now he sits at 33. At 32, I have the 6'8 Arizona freshman Carter Bryant. Bryant is an athletic forward with great size and tools. He's been excellent in his limited role, cutting, hitting spot-up threes and defending his ass off, and I've been impressed with some of the passes he's made. He could definitely return for his sophomore year, but I can see a team lacking him as early as the mid-first, but I have Carter Bryant at 32 on my Bigboard 2.0. At the top of tier 5 at 31, I have Eric Daly Jr., the 6'8 sophomore out of UCLA. He scores efficiently from everywhere on the floor, defends his ass off and makes solid reads, and he also has the size, strength and length to guard multiple positions. I'm not super confident in the shot, but he should be a very valuable off-ball weapon who makes an impact on both ends, so I have Eric Daly Jr. coming in at 31. Moving on to tier 4 with my 30th through 15th ranked prospects. Starting off tier 4 at 30, I have the 6'11 sophomore out of Florida, Alex Condon. He's a super impressive passer who hits cutters, makes plays out of the short roll, and makes a huge impact defensively, while moving very well for his size. The shooting and touch isn't great, but he's been awesome for Florida and has been huge in some of their biggest games, so he's quickly put himself in mainstream first round conversations, and on this board I have Alex Condon at 30. At 29, I have Henri Vassar out of Arizona. Vassar is an ultra productive big who has stepped up big time over the second half of the season. He moves extremely well, is a strong rim protector, has soft touch and can pass too, and I also think he could be more of a shooter at the next level. He's another limited minutes guy who's made a big impact and should be in first round conversations, especially with a good tournament and combine showing. Coming in at 28, I have one of the favourites for the Wooden Award, Johni Broome. He was absolutely phenomenal over the first half of the season, dominating with his strength, touch and polished game, but after suffering an ankle injury in early January, he dropped off quite a bit. He still performed at an elite level, but nowhere near the same level of dominance. I believe he could carve out a role in the NBA as a well-rounded, skilled big. You could probably argue putting him significantly higher or lower, but for now I'm comfortable with Broome at 28. Now at 27, I have Noah Pender. The 6'8 forward is a damaging defensive prospect, but he does have a long way to go offensively. But overall the flashes are impressive and he is a very quick processor. He is a bit older, close to 2 years older than Asenge, but he's very talented and continues to impress, so he will definitely get looks in the first round. But right now I have Pender at 27. At 26, I have Will Riley out of Illinois. Riley got off to a good start before going through a very rough patch in the middle of the season, but he has bounced back with increased minutes, usage and production over the last 6 or so weeks. He's got fantastic touch, I buy the shot, and the playmaking specifically along with the increased self-creation and finishing has been very cool to see. There's still a chance he returned, but I'd be willing to bet on his talent in the mid to late first for sure. Next up at 25, I have the 6'9 sophomore out of Texas Tech, JT Toppin. Toppin has had an incredible year, dominating with his fluidity, soft touch and activity on the glass, whilst displaying his versatility on the defensive end. He is a bit undersized for his playstyle, but his production as a 19-year-old is ridiculous, plus the shooting indicators are pretty solid, so I'm betting on him to make it work. So I have JT Toppin at 25. Just ahead of him, I have Nick Clifford out of Colorado State. Clifford is a highly productive senior who does absolutely everything on both ends and should be a great ready now role player bet in the late first range. He is an older prospect who will turn 24 during his rookie year, but he's just so well rounded and polished and can impact the game in so many ways and could do so immediately, so he'll be a great pickup for a playoff team. At 23, I have the 6'5 guard playing for St. Quentin, Nolan Traore. Traore has had an extremely difficult season after some very promising ANGT and FIBA U18 showings, but the downhill creation, playmaking, experience in a good pro league and some stronger performances of late put him in this tier for sure, and he sits at 23 on my Bigboard 2.0. At 22, I have Rocco Zikarsky out of Brisbane. Rocco didn't get to fully showcase what he's capable of this season with a few nagging injuries and limited minutes, but he is a really fun prospect and could be a very impactful play finisher and defensive anchor at 7'3". He moves well for his size, is skilled, and could be a very interesting prospect long term even if he doesn't enter this draft. But I love his upside and think getting him in an NBA environment would be extremely beneficial, so I have Rocco Zikarsky at 22. Next, I have Tyrese Proctor out of Duke. I'm probably very biased on this one because I've watched so many Duke games and I'm obviously Australian, but Proctor has always stood out as a guy who makes winning plays. He shoots it and defends at a high level and has good size. He's improved significantly over the years and is still relatively young, so this might seem high to some, and frankly it is, but he's got the skill set and talent to be a very impactful NBA player, so I have Tyrese Proctor at 21. Flory Badunga comes in at 20 as a 6'9 big with phenomenal athleticism, as well as awesome upside as a play finisher and mobile defensive anchor. He's another guy who could return. Man, it would be sick to see him hooping alongside Darren Peterson, so he could see his stock skyrocket, as this year he hasn't consistently been featured, especially offensively. He also has his flaws as an undersized, non-shooting big without great feel, but his freak athleticism and defensive versatility keep him in this tier at 20. Next up at 19, I have Con Knipple out of Duke. Con has been unbelievable this season, especially down the stretch with some big performances. He can dribble, pass, shoot, and works hard defensively, plus he's got good size. He's definitely limited athletically, and I'm a little worried about the foot speed, but he has phenomenal touch and an elite trait in his shooting, so should be a high level off-ball option at the next level. Just ahead of him, I have JoJo Tugler out of Houston. The 6'8 sophomore with an absurd plus 10 wingspan is a ridiculous defensive prospect who has been one of the most impactful players in college basketball straight up. The offense is very raw and pretty much everything needs a lot of work, and he's also very foul prone, but his defense alone is that special that I would definitely invest in him as an NBA talent in the first round. So I have JoJo Tugler at 18. I have LeBaron Philon out of Bama showing up at 17. Philon is a skilled guard who gets to the paint with his tight handle, change of pace and decel. He's got great touch and really facilitates and defends. He does struggle shooting the ball and has had some really rough stretches throughout conference play, but he has picked it up heading into the tournaments and made some huge plays in Bama's win over Auburn. Philon is a dog who gets it done on both ends, and if the shot is solid, will be a very good piece in the league. So I have LeBaron Philon at 17. At 16, I have Rasheer Fleming, the 6'9 junior out of St. Joe's. Fleming has great size and a reported 7'5" wingspan to effectively defend multiple positions and impact the game in numerous areas. He's an explosive athlete who has sustained an uber efficient 66.6% true shooting, whilst being a 42% shooter from deep. The comp he's faced hasn't been great, and I'm not completely sold on the jumper, but he's been super productive, is quite young for a junior, and has all the tools to be a very valuable 4-man in the league. Now at the top of tier 4 at 15, I have Miles Byrd out of San Diego State. The 6'7 sophomore has had some struggles offensively, particularly against tough competition, and the 3-point percentage has dropped significantly, but his ability to make plays on both ends has stood out, the finishing has improved a bit, and I'm confident in his shot long term. So he remains quite high and is one of the best role player bets in the class. So I have Miles Byrd at the top of tier 4 and 15th overall. Moving on to tier 3 with my prospects ranked 14 through 6. Starting off tier 3 at 14, I have Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. The 6'4" 18-year-old is another tough eval as a super talented creator prospect that has had some super high highs, but also some incredibly rough lows. His handle, advantage creation and passing is very impressive, but the turnovers, struggles finishing and lack of shooting as a smaller guard leave me a bit unsure of his NBA projection. He is very young, carrying a massive usage in a tough SEC, and I think he could massively benefit from returning, but his talent is undeniable, so I have Jeremiah Fears at 14. Next up at 13, I have the 6'10 freshman out of Maryland, Derek Queen. Like Fears, Queen is another tough eval with his old school game and athletic limitations, whilst also being very old for a freshman, but his upside is still immense. He's super skilled, productive, and some of the stuff he can do you just don't see very often. The shooting coming along would be huge, the signs are pretty positive as of now, and he'll probably need to have specific guys around him to maximize his game, but he's worth taking a swing on for sure, especially if you have the infrastructure like the Spurs perhaps. But for now, I have Derek Queen at 13. At 12, I have Thomas Sorber, the 6'10 freshman out of Georgetown. Sorber is strong as hell, skilled offensively, and a phenomenal defender with incredible instincts, timing, technique, and awareness. He did have some struggles offensively in some of the bigger matchups against tough comp. He's also not a particularly explosive athlete, and that's part of the reason why he struggled, but he's shown a ton on both ends and even has the potential to shoot it at the next level. He injured his foot in February and didn't get to finish his season, so that might significantly affect his draft stock. So at this point, I wouldn't be shocked to see him return, but me personally, I'm taking him in the top 20 for sure, and maybe even top 10. Coming in at 11, I have the 6'6 Illinois freshman Kasparas Yakashonis. Yakashonis is another guy who got off to a great start, and his struggles became a lot more glaring throughout conference play. I still buy him being a knockdown shooter and fantastic passer, but his issues creating advantages, poor athleticism and defensive concerns make me a little more skeptical of his translation to the next level, but he's shown a ton throughout the year, so I still have Yakashonis at 11. Next up at 10, I have Noah Asenge, the 6'9 French forward playing for Ulm. He's quite raw and will need to improve his left hand in shooting, but his tools, production in the pro league at 18 years old, along with his versatility on both ends and feel are very impressive. He keeps on getting better and better, and he just screams of a guy who will make an impact in the league for a long time, so I have Asenge coming in at 10. Ahead of him at 9, I have Trey Johnson, the 6'6 freshman out of Texas. Trey's shooting and shot making along with tertiary playmaking has really stood out, and he's had some unbelievable games carrying Texas to some big wins. He's not the archetype I'm typically very high on with his tougher, jump shot heavy game and mid overall defense, but he's scoring at a ridiculous rate in an uber tough SEC, and that is no easy task. And the passing improvement has been great to see, so I have Trey Johnson landing at 9 on my Bigboard 2.0. Coming in at 8, I have Ace Bailey. The 6'10 Rutgers freshman had an awesome stretch in January, showcasing his special shot making ability, and I think in general the passing and decision making improved a little bit, but outside of that amazing month he's been extremely inconsistent and just a negative in way too many games. His archetype and potential as a massive shooter and switchable defender with some weak side rim protection is very intriguing for sure, and given his age and flashes I still have him quite high, although probably not as high as some. Now at 7, I have Jace Richardson, the 6'3 freshman out of Michigan State. Jace was unbelievably efficient and impactful early on in the season, but I wanted to see more reps and opportunities, and since earning his first start against Oregon, he has been incredible, averaging 16.8 points per game, whilst posting a 12.8 BPM across 9 games with increased usage and volume. I would like to see him play make more as he is a scorer first as a small guard, but he is just so damn good and he's definitely capable of carrying a significant offensive load. So Jace Richardson is steadily climbing and with a strong tournament and combine should end up a top 10 lock for me. At the top of tier 3 at 6, I have the 6'11 freshman out of Georgia, Asa Noel. Asa is a spectacular athlete and a dominant play finisher who has been very productive for Georgia this season. He will have to improve as a passer and decision maker, but the flashes on both ends are tantalizing. The shooting along with his defense will ultimately be the swing skills, but there's some very promising signs and the volume and touch is good. But overall his skill set as a versatile and extremely mobile big who can play the 4 or small ball 5 is very interesting, so I have Asa coming in at 6. Now on to tier 2 with my 5th through 2nd ranked prospects. Coming in at 5, I have Colin Murray-Boyles, the 6'7 sophomore out of South Carolina. CMB is a strong-bodied, versatile forward who is an absolute force on both ends of the floor. He has been ridiculously productive and impactful in the SEC on a pretty poor South Carolina squad. He is a strange archetype as an undersized 4 who doesn't really shoot it, but his defense is awesome, the handling, interior scoring and passing is sick, and he really does everything except shoot the ball. CMB might be a tougher sell to some teams, but on a team with the right infrastructure to surround him with, he could be incredible, and his production, impact and efficiency as a 19-year-old in his context just cannot be ignored, so I have CMB in my top 5. At 4, I have Carmen Malawach, the 7'2 freshman out of Duke. Carmen is a massive skilled big who's got a ton of room to grow on both ends as a guy who will still be 18 on draft night. He's been phenomenal in his role for Duke, running the floor, crashing the glass and playing as a role man, but his touch, fluidity and tools separate him from other bigs. I really think he'll shoot it someday, and the defense should also improve dramatically as he puts on strength and is more consistently in a drop. But Malawach's potential is outstanding and he'll be a very impactful NBA player, so I have Carmen Malawach at 4. Next up at 3, I have VJ Edgecombe. The 6'5 freshman out of Baylor is a freak athlete and an awesome defensive prospect with great tools, technique and a phenomenal motor to match. He makes winning plays, the passing has been super impressive and the shooting is real. He definitely needs to tighten up his handle and improve his decision making as a driver and creator, but VJ's two-way upside is immense and he should be a top 5 lock. At the top of tier 2 and 2nd overall, I have Dylan Harper. Harper started this season off extremely strong before a rough stretch when he had the flu and an ankle injury, and he took a little while to get back to it, but he's been very good down the stretch as well, and all the same things that made him a potential star prospect are still on show. His advantage creation, finishing, playmaking and size are super valuable and the shooting is steadily improved, so I have no doubt that Dylan Harper is the number 2 guy in this class. Obviously in tier 1 we have Cooper Flagg. Not a lot needs to be said about Coop. He's had an unbelievable season so far, constantly improved, dominated on both ends, and has shown he can do everything. He's not without his flaws, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares in do or die games in the tourney, but he is legitimately one of the best prospects we've seen this century and is going to be an elite NBA player. I made a video on him about a month ago if you want to check that out for my full breakdown, but for now, everyone's number one prospect, Cooper Flagg, wraps up my pre-tourney Bigboard 2.0. Alright, that is all I've got for this one. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz. It's raining right now. I don't know if you can hear that. It's also hot as shit. But anyway, I appreciate the support. And there's a fucking thunderstorm. I'm losing my voice too. What is going on? But anyway, that's all I got. JB Hoops.